Hello, thank you for watching my channel today. My name's Sarah and my channel is called Your True Shelf. Today I've got a bit of a haul for you. I've got some books which I've bought and some books which I've got from the library. And then after that I thought I would just run through what I'm currently reading at the moment. And then my next video will be my wrap up from the month of February, which has just finished as I record this. So haul wise, I ended up having a bit of a random World of Books haul, and most of the books that were on my list were, I think all of them actually, were in there for the price of 3. So I ended up getting 12, but quite a few of those were ones I'd already read and I didn't own and I wanted to own, which I think is how I started off on that trail in the first place. So I'll show you the ones that I've bought that I haven't read, and then I'll go on to talk about the books that I am reading. So the first book that I have is a book I didn't know anything about, but I previously read a book by this author and really wanted to read more. So this book is a YA book called We Are Okay by Nina Lacour. So the year before last, 2023, I read Yerba Buena by Nina Lacour and I absolutely loved it. And I think that was her first adult book. I have one other book by her which was co-written by David Leviathan, and there is several other books by her, but they're not easily available in this country normally. So, but they do have some on World of Books. So this one, which has got a really nice cover, is one that I picked up. So this is about a young girl called Marin who has run away from everything in her life, and she's taken minimal stuff with her, and she's in an empty college dorm room over winter break. She hasn't told her friend what's going on. She hasn't told anyone about the tragedy that she's running away from. And her friend's going to come and stay with her over winter break, and she's going to have to talk about what happened to her. And I think it's to do with grief, but I don't know. What is this stamp on the front? I'm not sure what the gold stamp is on the front. Something to do with American Library something. I can't actually read it, but yeah, so this is a really lovely edition, and I'm really excited to read more by her because I loved Yerba Buena so much. I then have a trilogy which I bought all 3 of, and the reason again is, so the theme of looking at the books I looked at on World of Books was authors that I really love. So one of my favourite books is The Book Thief by Markus Zusak, and then a couple of years ago I read Bridge of Clay by him, and I adored that book so much. I can't wait to reread it. And then I just sort of said to myself, why have I never read everything he's ever written? So I bought this. This is like I think these are YA trilogy. They're really small books. Just hold them out like that. So the first one is The Underdog. This one. Then Fighting Reuben, Wolfe. And then Getting the Girl. So they're all quite small. And one of them is, this one is the first one. This is a library edition. So it's about 2 brothers. One of them is called Cameron, who is our protagonist, and the other one is called Reuben. It says that they both get each other into quite a lot of trouble, and Cameron is a kind of, it describes him as hopeless, pitiful, and shake your head kind of pathetic. And he really wants to have a girlfriend, but who would fall in love with a boy like him? And the Bridge of Clay book is very much set around brothers, and I loved the relationship between brothers. So the fact that he's written another book about 2 brothers makes me like really excited to read these. And I think I'll just read them all as if they were one book, because they're all like really small. So that's very exciting. I'm not going to read what book 2 and book 3 are about because obviously I don't want any spoilers. The next author who I have bought from World of Books is Beth O'Leary. So I got The Wake Up Call. This is the only Beth O'Leary book that I haven't read to this point in time, but she has got a new book coming out really soon. So all of the other ones I've listened to on audio, and I bought all of them on World of Books. And this is one that, like I said, that I had, the only one that I haven't read. So I find her books, they do often have a serious theme covered within the books, but they are very uplifting, fun and cheerful, generally speaking, even though there will be some sad or difficult themes within the book usually. I really love her work, and The Flat Share is still my favourite of her books. And so yeah, this is the wake-up call, as I said. So this is, I think, probably an enemies to lovers. So this is about two people. There's Izzy and Lucas, and they're both working in a hotel, which is really struggling. And they don't normally work the same shift because they don't get on with each other. And one day, Izzy finds a wedding ring which somebody had lost, and is given a reward for finding this ring. And it contributes to... it says the reward convinces management that this might fix everything. So then they've still got 4 rings in lost property, and Izzy has to work with Lucas to try and, I guess, reunite the rings with the owners. And that sort of project is probably going to bring them together, I'm guessing. But yeah, I know it's just going to be like a really nice, happy book. And I've been trying to read more uplifting books of late, purposefully, because a lot of the books I read deal with quite heavy topics a lot of the time, and sometimes it's really nice just to read books that make you feel joy. So I think this will be one of them. The next author was Lily King. So Lily King writes Writers and Lovers, which I've read twice and is an absolutely phenomenal book. And I've also read of hers Tuesdays in Winter, and most recently Father of the Rain, which I gave 5 stars. So I loved her work. I have 2 books of hers, I think just 2, that I haven't read yet. So we have this one called The Pleasing Hour, and this one called The English Teacher. So I'll talk about them individually. So The Pleasing Hour sounds really interesting. This won the Barnes and Noble Award for Discover Great New Writers in 1999. So this book is like 25 years old, 26 years old now, which is crazy. This is about a young woman called Rosie. She's American, and she goes to live in France after she's running away from a tragedy that happened to her. She goes to live in France with a family as an au pair to the mum, the dad, and the 3 children. And she is trying to form a closeness with the mum of the family, and struggling to do so, but she actually ends up becoming closer to the father of the family. And then one of the children suspects that something more than just friendship is going on between them, and so she decides that she's got too embedded in this family and she's going to move away. And she ends up then being a carer for the guardian of the family, for the mum's elderly guardian, who actually starts talking to her about the family and their secrets, and she learns a lot more about their story and their history. So this is her debut book, and whilst the cover's a bit rubbish, I'm just really glad that I could get my hands on a copy of this. And then the other book, The English Teacher. This is about a woman called Vida who has arrived at a school as a teacher, alone and pregnant, 15 years ago, and she's since gone on to become one of the best teachers at the school. And then later on, she's just got a life of her and her son, and it says that she has a secret, and she accepts an impulsive marriage proposal and basically turns their lives upside down. And it says it's a passionate tale of a mother and son's vital bond and a provocative look at our notions of intimacy, honesty, loyalty, and the real meaning of home. And it was the follow-up to the book that I just spoke about beforehand. So yeah, I'm really excited because I have just loved her writing so much. She's becoming, if not already, one of my favourite authors. Then I found today, actually, 2 of the books I've had on my wish list for ages were 99p on Kindle. So I went and purchased those straight away because I've wanted them for a long time. One is called Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. So you've probably heard me talk about Cara Bastone many times. I have listened to all of her free audiobooks on Audible, which have been written as radio plays, or just audio plays, I guess, not radio plays, and I have enjoyed all of them immensely. And this is her first book that's written as an actual book rather than an audio play, and it's about a woman who, I don't know her name, I'm afraid, but she's uncharacteristically had a one-night stand and has become pregnant from this one-night stand, and her best friend is being quite a bit off with her. I don't know if it's about that or if it's about something else. And so she's feeling quite alone. She doesn't really know what to do. The father, I think he said that he will support her, but he doesn't actually really want to be involved. and then her best friend's older brother is the one who's there for her, and I think this is a slow burn friends to lovers romance. Cara Bastone's books are all romance. They all have really good male protagonists. So I read an interview with her once where she said that she really likes writing emotionally available and emotionally intelligent male protagonists. She likes writing people who are good partners rather than like people who are idiots. And I just find her romances really, really good. So I bought that one straight away. And then the second one was Glorious Exploits by Ferdia Lennon. I've been desperate to read this for absolutely ages because I love historical fiction. It's set in ancient Sicily and I've been there and I loved Sicily. It was my favourite place I've ever been. And it's just had such critical acclaim. It's won awards. Everybody seems to love it who I follow on booktube, and so I'm just really, really excited to read this. And so that's also 99p on Kindle in case you want to snap yourself up a copy if you haven't done so already. So they're all the books I hauled, and I'm just going to come on to the library books. So we have two that are on the Women's Prize for non-fiction. So the first one is this one, Private Revolutions by Yuan, Coming of Age in a New China. This is one of the ones that really stood out for me from the Women's Prize long list. I didn't by any means set out to read all of the long list, and I'm not intending to read all of the shortlist. I just thought I would look at the books which interested me the most, of which this was one. So the blurb says, just so that I don't misquote, this book is about the coming of age of 4 women born in China in the 80s and 90s in a society about to transform beyond recognition. So the time period is good because I was born in the 80s. It's about Leia, who wants to escape the fate of the women in her village. Still underage, she bluffs her way onto the factory floor. It's about June, who at 15 sets what her family thinks is an impossible goal, to attend university rather than raise pigs. It's about Siu, ranked second to bottom of her English class, who decides to prove her teachers wrong. And it's about Sam, who becomes convinced that the only way to change her country is to become an activist, even as the authorities slowly take her peers from the streets. So that sounds fascinating because they're true stories, and I just think it's an interesting country, China, and I like the time period that these women are born in because it's the same time period when I was born. The next one is one that I have already started reading, which is Empire of the Hands by Eleanor Barraclough. So this one is a history of the Viking Age, and so far I've read the prologue and then I'm reading the introduction, which is actually a very long introduction. It's 45 pages long, and it's talking about a bit about so far it's just given us a very brief overview in terms of a timeline of the Vikings and all the places they were invading and settling. And she says that she wants to talk about the everyday person, not just the kind of the famous people or the big warriors of the day, but she wants to talk about everyday people who are living in the Viking Age, and about their personal artifacts and how they would have lived and everything like that. There's quite a lot of photos in here of things which have been found, which is really cool, and it's blurbed on the front by Tom Holland as well. So I'm really looking forward to continuing with this one. And then the final book is from an author that I've already mentioned, which is Markus Zusak again. He's released a non-fiction book called 3 Wild Dogs and the Truth, and this is his first non-fiction. This is a memoir. You know, I'm a sucker for a memoir. I also absolutely love the cover of this. Interestingly, one of the dogs in this book is called Reuben, which is the same name as the character from the Wolfe brothers books that I held up earlier. So I'm just going to read you a little bit of the blurb because it sounds quite amusing. What happens when the Zusaks open their family home to 3 big, wild, pound-hardened dogs? Reuben, a wolf at your door with a hacksaw. Archer, blonde, beautiful, deadly, and the rancorously smiling Frosty, who walks round like a rolling thunderstorm. The answer can only be chaos. Street brawls, park fights, public shamings, property trashing, injuries, stomach pumping, purest comedy, shocking tragedy, and carnage that needs to be seen to be believed, not to mention the odd police visit at some ungodly hour in the morning. And so yeah, this sounds good. He's Australian. I love Australian books, and that is one that I'm going to pick up very soon, because I'm sure that other people are going to reserve it at the library, so it will have to be on my sort of top priority list. So that's all the books that I hauled that I haven't read. I'm not going to go through the ones that I've hauled that I have read. Just putting those back down on the floor. So in terms of what I am reading at the moment, I will just go and grab the books by my bed because I forgot to bring them through with me. I'm still reading Dreaming the Hound by Manda, which is the third book in the Boudica series with Aaron. I am this far through, so we're just reading it at a very chill pace, so we're not like, we're having little breaks between seconds just because we're reading other things and things as well, but this is still absolutely wonderful. And then my TBR spin pick this month, the prompt was a book that was a cover by. So from my stack, the one that was most cover by was 13 Moons by Charles Frazier. So look at the cover, which is absolutely beautiful. This is a hardback that I got in a charity shop, and it's in mint condition. And Charles Frazier wrote Cold Mountain, and I read Cold Mountain when I was in Spain, and I went there. This was pre-kids, so pre-11 years ago, and when I went, I think it was like January or February, and it was quite mild, and it was drizzly, and I was sitting out on our friend's deck, and I was looking out, and you could see like mountains in the distance, and it was just like the perfect setting to read Cold Mountain, and I can vividly recall it, and I loved it so much that when I saw another book by Charles Frazier, I was like, oh, I have to read it. And now it's on my TBR spin stack, and I am reading it, and it doesn't disappoint. So the writing is absolutely gorgeous. I want to read everything that Charles Frazier's written, which seems to be the theme for this haul as well. So I'll be looking for more books by him. I'm about, how far through am I? I'm 90 pages through so far, and we're following a guy called Will, who at the start of the book is elderly, and he's living with a young woman who's caring for him, and he's like not interested in new inventions like the telephone. So I think it's like, you know, obviously it's set in the past when he's an old man, and then he starts looking back on his life. So we've now gone back to when he was like 12, and he grew up big. He was with, after his mum died, he had to go and live with his aunt and uncle, and they both did a deal to send him to this trading post in Indian territory for 7 years, where he has to go and live as like a shopkeeper. Even though he's only 12, he has to go there with this tiny little paper map. He has to try and find it. He has to look after himself, and most of his customers don't speak the same language as him. And he gets taken under the wing of this guy called Bear, who is a Native American, and yeah, it's absolutely stunning. So I'm so pleased I started reading this book, because I absolutely love it. So that's what I'm reading. Oh, and then I'm listening to the Doomsday Book by Connie Willis. So Aaron from Aaron Read a Book, or Aaron Read a Book, told me that he thinks I'd like this book, and I very much do. So it's a really long audiobook. It's 26 hours long. It's classified as science fiction, but I don't feel like I would call it science fiction. But that's probably because I'm very much a novice at science fiction. The premise is that it's set in Oxford University in about 2050, and it was written in the 1980s, and they can do time travel at the university. So they basically have sent a young student who has been thoroughly prepared back to the 1300s, to the Middle Ages, to gather data for 2 weeks to try and help them with their sort of historical research. And she becomes unwell as soon as she has time travelled, and also one of the team who's helped her time travel becomes really unwell, and a pandemic starts in present day. And we're going back and forth between the 1300s and present day, when they're trying to control a pandemic at Oxford and work out what it is. And then she's also unwell. She's trying to figure out how she's going to come back to Oxford. because she wasn't expecting to be unwell. And then they're all saying, well, it's not possible for viruses and things to cross over in the time travel, but obviously there must be a link because it seems that is what's happened. So it's really, really good, and it's a good story, as well as having engaging, funny characters and things, and the audio narrator is good as well. So I'm really enjoying that one. I'm just under halfway through that at the moment. So that's everything that I'm reading and what I've hauled. I am not behind with my reading plans, but I've got a couple of books, like for Ben's challenge. I haven't read February's yet. I know what I'm going to read. I just, because my library book came in, I've had to kind of push that forward a little bit. And I also want to read a book that my friend recommended to me as well. So, and I also want to read Kitchens of the Great Midwest as my foodie February book. So it's just ticked into March because I just had so many things I was reading in February, but I still want to read that because I've had it on my TBR for quite some time, and also because I want to support Ashley during Foodie February. So that was everything. If you've read any of these books, please let me know, or if you have any thoughts about them. And I hope that you are having a really wonderful week and that March treats you well with lots of good books. And I will speak to you all soon. Bye.